Yeah. Plus it goes quicker too, because if it's on a Friday or something, then we have to run around setting up just extra time, and we don't catch all the downs where.
Think about that. You don't have to give me an answer right away.
How soon are you kind of looking at doing
The next one.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of Los Alamitos. Roll call, please. Here.
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 Thank you. So we'll go ahead and open it up for the Pledge of Allegiance. That is the honors for Mayor Pro Tem Murphy. But please rise. And then Mayor Pro Tem Murphy has graciously deferred the honor to our guest over here. If you could lead us, sir, in the pledge, if you wouldn't mind. Just right from there is fine. Just say, right there is fine. Just lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would you please remain standing if you're able for the invocation? Councilmember Chirco, please.
Yes. Thank you. I would just like to start by giving thanks for all we have, for the opportunity we have up here to represent our great city, and for the sense of community that we have in our city. We're all part of the same community and must continue to work together to keep our community safe, prosperous, financially sound, and respectful. And I want to specifically give thanks to our first responders, including the Los Alamitos Police Department, who risk their lives to keep us all safe and to help us feel safe as well. I'd also like to give thanks to all the volunteers in our community who donate their time, money, and efforts to help the less fortunate and help make our community great. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen. Please, the council can join me up front. We do have a couple of presentations. Are we ready? Okay, thank you. So we have here tonight a very special guest. He led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then I want to, I'll allow Councilmember Gross. Would you mind presenting this if you want to say a few words?
Thank you. If we could have the post commander from American Legion Post 716 and William Cass, you can join us up here. Turns out that Mr. Cass, understand.
Just nod.
Turn around and face the audience, and let's move up.
Sure. Mr. Cass lives in Rossmore, is a Navy veteran serving our country in World War II, and he just turned 100 years old. Wow. So on behalf... He was recognized last weekend, I believe, by the Legion at the Veterans Hospital, and we would like to recognize your achievement of 100 years tonight as well, and present you with this certificate. And I believe the commander also has one that he wants to present too. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
54 years ago I moved in.
Welcome. We're glad to have you in the community.
You've been around for a while. I've got one more for you.
Okay.
Don't take off. This is from the Regional Military Affairs Committee, and it's a certificate of recognition presented to Lieutenant Commander William Cass upon his 100th birthday celebration. And this World War II service in the United States Navy from April 1941 to May of 6 of 1945. Presented this 6th day of February 2019. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I got one more. Here, this is only filled out by hand, but here's your honorary life membership to our post.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
You being a Navy man, my voice carries. I want to present this challenge coin for you, and this is the Fort Chaplains coin. And I know you know what the Fort Chaplains is.
Yeah.
Yeah, February 3rd, when the Dorchester went down, right? And all the chaplains stayed aboard, gave up their lives.
Yeah.
But that's one of our coins. It's a special coin, so
Thank you.
cherish it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, you get pictures? Oh. Picture. Picture.
I think they're looking.
Stand next to this young lady over here. Oh, not here?
I'm going to MC the guys coming up first, Sean Watkins.
Oh, okay.
Let's go introduce him to you.
You want to be up here? Or
Yeah, you guys have one photo. No, I don't have to be up there. I can be right here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, okay.
So next on our thank you very much. Next on our presentation, we have some of Los Alamos Finds, the newest here, and Chief Nunez is going to introduce them.
Well, first we're just going to introduce to the council and to our public our new school resource officer. This officer's name is Sean Watkins, and Sean, you can come up here real quickly, and I can introduce you. Tell the folks out here a little bit about you, if you will. Officer Watkins originally hailed from Bethany Beach, Delaware, right? And he's married with 2 children and a third on the way. Congratulations on that. Yeah, really soon. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree in History from the University of Delaware and served as a lieutenant in the United States Army as an Army armor officer. He is a lateral officer from Culver City Police Department, where he served in 2014 to 2015. In 2016, as a brand new chief, I was lucky enough to get to swear him in right from the get-go there, and so I appreciate you coming over. His primary function has been a patrol officer, but has earned a number of ancillary assignments, and he wears a lot of important hats at our police department. One of the most important ones is a field training officer, and where he indoctrinates all of our new officers, teaches them really how to do the job of policing outside for the first time of the academy experience for these officers. He's a firearms instructor on the range staff and the homeless liaison officer, which we all know, in the current day and age, which is critical to have that kind of liaison officer out there and dealing with our homeless population, make sure we meet the needs of the homeless. During his free time, he enjoys surfing, golfing, I'd like to see a golf actually, training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and lifting weights. And I can tell you, when you say lifting weights, he lifts some serious weights. I think he just benched over 400 pounds the other day, and I know he can deadlift, which is essentially picking up a barbell with 500 pounds on it. So he can, if you have a small car and it's on you, he can lift it off you. We don't actually need the fire department to come out for that. He looks forward, he told me he looks forward to his role and position in the SRO and getting to know the students and staff. And he's he's been doing a great job there so far. So I just want to welcome and introduce to the council our school resource officer, Sean Watkins. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Good seeing you.
You want a photo, Sean?
Oh, great. Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to have the pleasure. I wasn't here during the swearing in of these officers last week. Last couple of weeks I've been dealing with a little pneumonia and bronchitis, and so I was pretty under the weather, and I've never missed a swearing in, to be honest with you, and I've sworn a lot of officers over the last 8 years. And so it's the greatest honor as a police chief, as well as promoting officers to their newest and higher ranks. But our first officer, I want to introduce them to council and to our public that wasn't there at the swearing in ceremony and give you a little bio on each one of them. It's real little, Mayor Pro Tem. Uh, Officer D'Angelo Gossett, if you please come up. Stand here for a second. Just stand here while I tell the public a little bit about you. D'Angelo was born in Los Angeles and now resides in the city of Los Alamitos. He graduated from Aliso Nigel High School before attending Azusa Pacific University, where he obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Marketing in 2000 and worked in the business industry for 10 years in sales, management, and training. D'Angelo began his law enforcement career a little later than some, graduating from Golden West Academy in 2012 as the honor recruit. He was hired by Signal Police Department in 2012, where he served as a range master, field training officer, drug recognition expert, taser instructor, and school resource officer. While at Signal Hill, he earned a meritorious conduct award for preventing a suicide. He was hired by the City of Los Alamitos Police Department on September 30th, 2018. D'Angelo and his wife, Carolyn, have been married for 20 years now and have 3 children, Malachi, Caleb, and Ayla. He enjoys spending time with his family and enjoys archery, hiking, and camping. And I don't know where you get any time to do all that with all the things you've accomplished in your career as a police officer, but we certainly are very happy that he chose to come over to just next door, over to our site, and we appreciate you being here. All right, thank you very much. And if you would just stick around for a little bit, so after we introduce everybody, we can get all you guys up here at one time and take just a real quick group photo. And our next officer is Mark Ryan Navarro. Officer Navarro, please come forward. He's in short sleeves because he worked today, folks. Mark was born in Harbor City and currently resides in Carson. He graduated from Pacific Lutheran High School in 2007, where he played volleyball throughout his 4 years there. Mark earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from Westwood College in 2012. He worked at Rite Aid as a loss prevention officer for 5 years. Directing his energy towards his truer goal, career goal, Mark was self-sponsored through the Golden West Police Academy, graduating in September 2018. I've been hearing about Mark through that process because I actually had a daughter that was assisting with the field problems there and was telling me that this was a diamond in the rough. You should probably look at him. And I'm glad that he passed the muster with our staff and he made his way through that. But Mark and his fiance have a 3-year-old daughter. Mark enjoys spending time with his family, going to the gym, playing volleyball, of course, and snowboarding. With that, congratulations, Mark. Mark. It's always Officer Navarro. Yeah. All right. Our next officer is Officer Eddie Gonzalez. Eddie was made sure it was Eddie and not Edward when I asked him during our interview process. He was born in Los Angeles and now resides in Orange. He attended high school in Santa Ana School District, where he also was a police explorer in the city of Fullerton. Following his service as a U.S. Marine, Eddie worked for Time Warner, now Spectrum, for 24 years in support services and internet security as an abuse coordinator, investigator, until corporate restructuring eliminated many positions, including his. Undeterred and inspired by his Uncle Peter, a retired Los Angeles police lieutenant, in 2012, Eddie learned of a volunteer position with Orange County Sheriff's Department, where he could use his considerable technical expertise as a professional services responder. And in 2005, he graduated from the Orange County Sheriff's Department's Regional Training Academy as a Reserve Level 3 deputy. In 2018, Eddie was awarded the Reserve Deputy of the Year for North Operations. In 2018, Eddie completed his Level 1 training, which is equivalent to a regular police officer training or recruit training, and was assigned to North Patrol, serving the unincorporated areas of Stanton, Rossmore, Yorba Linda, Anaheim, Orange, and Tustin. Eddie and his wife, Heather, have 3 adult children, Jasmine, Mackenzie, and Devin, who he enjoys spending time with, and with his family doing CrossFit and Orange Theory, woo, workouts, range shooting, computer troubleshooting and repairs, and church activities. And I'll tell you, I did miss the swearing in, and then I heard that the actual undersheriff for Orange County was attending it, because I believe he's a good friend and mentor of yours too. So that was Bob Peters. Yeah. Yep. And that was very impressive, and we are glad that you're here, and he's definitely a treasure for us too. Thank you. And do we have Officer Kevin Steinhauser here in the room? What's that? Okay, he's working, and he's. Let me tell you something though, real quick about since we wrote it. Kevin was born in Long Beach, where he still resides with his family. He graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School, probably a lot familiar with that, and attended Long Beach City College. Kevin completed public safety dispatcher training at Golden West College and Basic Police Academy at Fullerton Community College. Since 2014, he has been a school safety officer for Long Beach Unified School District, and prior to that, a public safety officer and dispatcher for Long Beach Memorial Medical Center. Kevin and his wife Brittany have a 3-year-old twins, boy and a girl, Keegan and Kaylin. In addition to being at home with their family, he enjoys exercising, golf, dirt bike riding, camping, barbecuing, surfing, reading, and researching. And I don't know what he's actually researching, but he's out there doing that, I guess, right now. But he is a great guy. So how about a round of applause? And then I want to introduce it, and I really am glad to introduce this person, our record specialist, Veronica Wilson. Come on up, Veronica. Not all of our police employees carry guns, although she probably doesn't need to. Veronica was born and raised in Orange County. She grew up in a law enforcement family, with her father retiring as a sergeant from Westminster PD, one uncle retiring as a captain from Orange County Sheriff's Department, and the other from Philadelphia PD. Her cousin in attendance, was in attendance during my swearing in, is currently an Orange County Sheriff Department deputy. Her mother is a nurse at the Orange County Jail, so we're talking a lot of public service, law enforcement related family. Veronica began her law enforcement career with the Orange County Sheriff's Department in 1999, working in the Professional Standards Division, subsequently holding a series of titles. She promoted to dispatcher in 2003 and became a communications training officer, which is like an FTO for police officers for dispatch in 2005. She lateraled to West City's communication, which is our communication police dispatching, more commonly known as Westcom, our JPA dispatch center for the cities of Cypress, Seal Beach, and Los Alamitos in 2007. Veronica was selected to join the West County SWAT team as their tactical dispatcher in 2008 and promoted to communications officer in charge in 2009. Veronica has been married to Eric, who she calls my teddy bear. She does. But he's not. He's a very large man, very tall, big guy, football player. And it says Eric is a Bruin for life. I know this said that as, yeah, but this Eric isn't. Yeah, I was. I'm a Trojan for life, but he's a Bruin. We've talked. We got to know each other pretty well. And it was supposed to be your interview, and I wound up having her husband sit in my office, and we talked for like, I don't know, an hour. She had to pull him out of there. She has 3 children. Marquise, 20, attending college in Washington State. Maya, 9, and Miles, 6. Her younger children attend school in Rossmore and play sports in the city of Los Alamitos. So you often find Veronica out and about. in the city at sporting and community events. She is her daughter's Girl Scout troop leader, and we are active throughout our city and community of Los Alamitos and Seal Beach. Veronica obviously enjoys spending time with her family and going to church. And I can tell you, when I did the interview, before your interview with your husband, I just thought this was the perfect person for us. And she is so skilled and just has a level of, the way her people skills are phenomenal. And she just knows how to talk to people and control situations. And if anybody has ever seen a police front counter and the kinds of people sometimes that come up there, they're not in the happiest moods. But she manages to deal with them very well, and we're very pleased to have you here with us. Thank you very much. If I can get all quickly, we can just take you two SRO. Come on up, we can have a group photo. I'll scoot over to the side here. There we go. You can stand in front of these guys. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It makes me nervous. No. All right. Thank you.
Okay, next we have a proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month, and there's a lot of whereases, but I guess this is really for the community college, Career Technical College, and Kathy, you can come up here. It's Kathy. And, hi, thank you for being here. You want to say a few words about the Career Technical College?
Yes, certainly. Thank you for this honor tonight, all of you. Thank you. We really appreciate it. This is CTE, Career Technical Education Month. We actually served, I'm with North Orange County ROP. We serve 5 districts. Los Alamitos is one of them. And we are very proud of our high school courses, Careers with Children, where the high school students get to interact with the preschool students. And we've had that preschool running in Los Alamitos for about over 30 years now. And also we grow our own first responders with our fire technology class and our EMR class. So we're very proud of what we offer in Los Alamitos High School, and I have 2 daughters that graduated. Go Griffins. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it, right? And then we're going to have Becky, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda, we do have a presentation by Becky Esparza from the Orange County Human Relations, I think it's Council, is that Human Relations Board Council? Please, Becky, thank you. You've been here every year.
I'm
Thank
with
you
the
for
council, the
coming.
nonprofit side of the Human Relations Commission. You know, every time I come here, I'm always overjoyed that I see so many youth. I didn't see them today, but I saw a 100-year-old retired Navy man from World War II. My father was retired from the Army, and he was also in World War II. He was, I think it was 35 years in the Army. And it was, wow. So it was great to meet a young man.
Thank you.
Also, I was pleased to see the new servicemen, police officers, having law enforcement officers in my family also. It's always a pleasure to see new ones come on board. So that was great too. Thank you. Okay, good. Now back to work. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mr. Plumley, Chief Nunez, and community members. I am here tonight to report on some of the work of our nonprofit organization, Orange County Human Relations, in the city of Los Alamitos over the last year and present you with copies of our annual report. I believe you have them with you. Our mission to build, we believe that all people have a right to live free from discrimination and violence. So we provide programs to create a safe and respectful community. Our mission to build understanding among our diverse residents is more important now than ever. We continue to see divisions, strife among leaders and even neighbors locally and across our nation. That has not swayed us from the belief that we can work together and that we are better for it. Orange County Human Relations partners with cities to manage all challenging issues such as the lack of civil discourse, meaningful participation of all residents in the decision-making process, and overcoming the mistrust that can make every police community encounter more dangerous for both parties. Cities and schools, they call on us regularly for help in the community building efforts as well as navigating conflict. We hope that the city of Los Alamitos will not hesitate to reach out to us when our expertise could help. Many of our programs are provided countywide and beyond. This year, our No Hate Public Awareness and Education campaign will expand statewide and will include training and tools for cities, counties, and schools that would like to launch their own campaigns to prevent hate-motivated behavior, and we would welcome your participation too. But we would like to share the following information about our programming exclusively for your city, Los Alamitos. We mediated 5 cases in the courts or community where one of the parties was a resident of the city of Los Alamitos. We work to build a sense of community among Los Alamitos residents and staff through our continual hate crime education, victim outreach, and support. And most recently, we were pleased to be able to consult with and support Los Alamitos Unified as they navigated community concerns over an educator's social media post. In conclusion, Orange County Human Relations has appreciated their opportunity to work in your city that bring police, diverse residents together to build safe, respectful neighborhoods, develops positive relations among the broad spectrums of Los Alamitos residents, addresses community conflict and strife, sustains a human relations infrastructure to serve cities when crises occur. Together, we are contributing to a safe and respectful county and building the important relationships that can be called upon in terms of tension and turmoil should they come. I thank you for all your service. I thank you for your hard work and for supporting Orange County Human Relations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have from Southern California Edison, we'll have a presentation by James Peterson, who is our government relations manager for the city. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and fellow council members, for having the opportunity. I'm grateful for having the opportunity to come to present to you today to discuss some of our outage communications procedures, but also to give you a brief overview of the things that Southern California Edison's working on. I am new to Southern California Edison. I joined last spring, and I serve roughly 1/3 of the county, covering 11 cities. I'm glad to be working with Los Alamitos. So we'll just jump right into it. We'll try to jump right into it. Is that a bad joke? You know, energy is very important, especially in the clicker.
When it works.
Okay, thank you. So first off, you're all generally fairly familiar with Edison. We send you a bill each month to remind you who we are. But we cover a massive area, and we have a massive amount of infrastructure covering 50,000 square miles of service territory down all the way to the Arizona border, all the way up into Mono County. So that's a lot of infrastructure that we have to maintain. This is the process by which we get the power from the power plants down to your homes. We have nearly 900 substations, 4,300, almost 4,400 circuits, about 117,000 miles of line, 1.5 million poles. All this has to be inspected and maintained. In Los Alamitos, we have 16 circuits. You're served by a substation in Long Beach. Your area does not include, we don't service the Rossmore area, but sometimes we get calls about outages, and the assumption is that somehow it's tied to Los Alamitos, but it's actually not. This is a list of all the circuits that we have in your area, and a total of a little over 27,000 customers. That's residential as well as commercial. And we measure how well we're doing every year, and we have an obligation by the California Public Utilities Commission to report back to you each year on how reliable our service is. We measure it in a couple of different ways, and it's shown here. We measure both for the duration of an outage as well as the frequency of outages, and the numbers over the last few years have been getting better. Part of the reason why it's getting better is because we're making about a $13 billion investment in our infrastructure. It takes a long time to get all those improvements done, but it's not just maintenance. We're also making improvements to the grid so that we're getting better feedback from each of our poles and each of our circuits about what's happening, and we're able to solve problems faster. This is a look. We present this material every year to the city that shows in detail how we're doing. In the red columns, you'll see kind of how Edison is doing in terms of outages, both in duration and frequency. That's service area wide. The blue is Los Alamitos, so we're doing considerably better in your area than we are able to do throughout our region, but these numbers over time will continue to get better as those investments are completed. And this shows the types of reasons that we have outages. You'll see that the biggest ones are going to be equipment failure. Something breaks, we have to go repair it. And then operations are when we identify some need for a maintenance that's not an immediate failure. It's things that we're planning ahead for, regular routine maintenance. Weather is also a pretty major factor as well. And this is another example. Again, we measure it. Duration, SAFE is frequency, and SADI, the other diagram you saw, is the duration. Again, we're working on various pieces of our upgrades through automation, better communications, better technology platforms, and this is going to be going on. I think that the final year of the improvement process is in 2019. We'll again be going back to the CPUC and making a plan for the next few years of additional improvements, the next phase of modernizing our grid. So the next thing is I wanted to talk about an overview of how our outages work and what our process is. There are different kinds of outages, obviously. We have maintenance outages that are planned in advance, and we have certain protocols that follow those. We have repair outages, emergency outages when we identify something that we see something that's about to fail and we'll need to repair it right away. Those have their own processes. And then rotating outages aren't so much a factor. They used to be a major factor back when we were struggling to provide enough power. The common repair outages that you see are undergrounding when a company or a private home needs to power down so that they can make improvements or changes to their system. Fire, we have birds and equipments. One major factor that people don't think about is the helium balloons. There are a massive number of helium balloon outages every year, and it's very costly. It's not just costly to us, but it's costly to our customers and the businesses that are served because they're experiencing outages because of someone's helium balloon. So we're working hard to raise awareness about helium balloons. So if you know folks that are looking to celebrate a holiday, a birthday, a Valentine's Day, we strongly encourage them to look for options that may not interfere with their lines because you could actually impact lots of people and lots of businesses. Our maintenance outage process, we strive to give as much advance notice as possible when we know that we're going to have to do some work in an area. We enroll it in our system about 13 days before we actually have the work to be done. We then begin a barrage of communication devices. We have, for people that sign up on our website, we provide email notifications, text, whatever option they choose, and we can provide those as much as 11 days in advance. And then we also do mailers of various sorts and door hangers, and those notifications happen between 8 and 3 days before the work is to begin. If someone is reliant on a medical device, we strongly encourage those folks to let us know that they're dependent on their electricity to get that device working and to have it in use. So that what we do for those customers, and they're called medical baseline customers, is we go out and we'll knock on the door if we have to and make sure that they're aware that this outage is coming and they can get prepared for it. But the challenge is we don't know if someone is reliant on that device unless they tell us. It's not something that, that we have in our system. So strongly encourage everyone to try to get their neighbors, their family, their friends to let us know. All they have to do is go onto our website and they can sign up for the medical baseline program. Added incentive of that program is there's discounted rates for it. On the previous slide, it noted that we have roughly 30 to 32,000 outages a year that we're notifying people about. We have a large team of people that work on these notices, and then our crews that actually go out and do the work are also sometimes knocking on doors and making people aware of what's happening. So here you have examples of what we send out by email, by regular mail, door hangers, just a variety of techniques. And I know from meeting with Mayor Pro Tem Murphy that sometimes this stuff gets stuck in the mail and it's not obvious that it's something you really need to pay attention to. But one way to know that it's really important is that envelope on the lower corner there that highlights this is something really important. There's an outage that's coming in soon, and hopefully you catch that. We also have online our outage communications center. So if you are experiencing an outage, you can go online, go to our outage map, and it'll bring up on this next slide here, this diagram. And if you click on the little yellow dot, it'll tell you more about your outage, when it happened, how long it's going to last, how many people are affected, and give you a rough estimate of when we think we're going to be able to get the power back on. This is just a further example of what it looks like online. And another example of the details of that. And then you can always call our outage center to either report an outage or to try and find out more information. So that concludes my presentation, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? And I just wanted to thank Mr. Peterson for coming back out. As he stated, he did meet with Brett and I was initially concerned that there wasn't enough notice, that the letter from Edison kind of looked like junk mail that was notifying me, and we do have a medical device we need to work in our house. So you're nice enough to come out, and take away from this is, please, if you need the medical device, register, and Edison will do all they can to make sure you are aware of any problems that are scheduled. So thank you.
I did have one request. When you have the maintenance outages, the planned ones, is there any way, and I'm not sure if you do it now, but could you let the city know? We have a pretty active next door community, and that's just another way of getting on there. So people will know it's planned, and then also we can put the caveat in there that if you have a medical device that you need constant powered, and give the number to contact or however, because not everybody's the mail or however, but I heard a lot of complaints that they weren't notified, knowing that you guys were doing your due diligence, but hopefully this will be just another level of just getting the word out there.
That is a part of our process. We do send out a notification to the city, and oftentimes Brett and I will be emailing each other back and forth about an outage, providing information. So that's something we do both for planned, and then often we're in touch with one another when there's an unplanned outage.
Okay. So could we just make sure that things like that are posted on, because I know we have the ability to post from the city for the next door. Thanks.
I think it's going to depend on where the individual, because they're sending it to us for individual addresses, and they're also sending it to us for neighborhoods. So I think if it's a bigger area, that would be worthwhile sending that one way out.
Right, not for individual houses, but for bigger neighborhoods. And even if it's an overlap or it doesn't concern them, I'd rather over-communicate than under-communicate. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go to the next item on the agenda, I did forget to introduce our staff here, and so I wanted to introduce our City Clerk Wendy Quintanar, our City Attorney Michael Dowd, and then City Manager Brett Plumley. And if you can introduce your staff.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We have Chief Nunez here, who you heard from earlier. We have our Development Services Director, Les Johnson. Finance Director, Maria Luisa Valdez. Captain, Chris Carr. We have Emmeline Noda, our Recreation Manager, and David Hunt, our City Engineer. Sean Connolly, our Administrative Captain, and we have Robert Acosta, our Fire Chief.
Thank you. And then is there some quick report we can get from Chief Nunez?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This past week, we received our final tally on the year 2018. And we're always about a month and a half behind on those because of the collection of data. We have to verify that. So, but for the 2018, all of our numbers in terms of Part 1 crimes have been down. We're talking like, say, robbery down 70%. I mean, we don't have a huge number, so it doesn't take much to make those percentages. But every one of the categories is down with the exception of one, which was aggravated assault. We had 4 aggravated assaults last year, which is up when we only had one for last year, the year prior in 2017. So we were looking actually really good. Obviously, some arrests were down. Some of those citation numbers are down, but they're down because we were down staffing at that time. But 2018 was a good year for our city in terms of crime, and we've seen this trending now, a downward trend for the last few years.
Thank you very much, Chief. Okay, with that, we'll go on to the next item, which is oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes. And if it's something on the agenda, I'll just ask you to hold your oral communication until the agenda comes up. So with that, we do have a blue card for parking permits, and this is having to do with agenda item 11A. So at that time, we'll call up the speaker for that item. And any other, please.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. I'm Shelley Henderson. I'm here as editor of Orange County Breeze, where we take our responsibility quite seriously to cover the city beat here in Los Alamitos. Since I was absent last month, I thought that it was incumbent on me to explain and apologize. Following, thank you very much, your presence at the Los Alamitos Chamber Gala. I am now the immediate past chairman of the Los Alamitos Chamber, and I looked forward to getting some projects done at Orange County Breeze that I had not had a chance because of the requirements of the chairmanship. So the first thing that I did after I became immediate past chairman was to move the technical infrastructure for oc-breeze.com to new hardware, which resulted in our stepping in a huge steaming pile of technical difficulties. Because, as many of you might understand, you have to have clear definitions of your terms. Each of you there can understand why if you have terms defined in one way and base your decision upon that, but you needed to have a clear understanding of a different definition, you can get yourself into trouble. I based my technical infrastructure requirements on what Google Analytics told me about oc-breeze.com traffic in preparation for being able to do OCB Sidecar, a podcast. I wanted to make sure that it was buff enough, robust enough to support the podcast. Well, as it turns out, Google Analytics defines active visitor differently from, say, Cloudflare, which is load balancing software. And that's what led to our technical difficulties. I forthrightly told our ISP how much infrastructure we needed, and it was simply not enough. I lowballed it by about 300%. Yeah, that resulted in the website frequently crashing and being unavailable. And of course, since I had done such careful investigation and based my decision upon Google Analytics, it took me a long time to figure out where I had gone wrong. So as it turns out, Orange County Breeze enjoys 110,000 unique visitors every month. That translates to approximately 5 million pages served. And we are incredibly proud of those statistics, and we are happy now that we have fixed the infrastructure so that there are no more crashes. We look forward to serving up news about Los Alamitos and serving up our new podcast, which will be recorded at Creative Media Recording in Cypress this Thursday. So watch for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in oral communications? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close those and bring it back here to council. Item number 7, council announcements. How about to start with you, Councilmember Chirko?
Sure, and I'll be brief. We had our budget standing committee meeting, I think it was last week, perhaps the week before it, where we discussed the financial situation of the city and ways to address our projected budget shortfall, as well as going over the current year's budget projections, comparing actual expenditures and revenues versus the budget that was approved last year. And I look forward to attending the Race on the Base this weekend, including the glow-in-the-dark fun run on Friday night with my family. I have not checked the weather. Is it? It's good. Not as cold as last year, hopefully. Okay. I know you can't do anything about that, but I'll also be attending the Americana Awards at Cypress College this weekend, in which we'll be honoring our Los Alamitos Citizen of the Year, Emil George.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gross?
Yes, I had 4 events that I participated in since our last meeting. I attended the Cypress City State of the City address with Cypress Mayor Stacy Berry. I also had an opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting for that the Chamber of Commerce held for Rise Up Athletics, which is a rebirth of Kidnastics. Same facility, but rehabbed and improved. And they're now up and running with a whole new interior. I had an opportunity with Mayor Pro Tem Murphy to attend the Senior Club Volunteer Luncheon last week, and also I attended the swearing in of the police officers that the chief missed. So you were missed. You were missed. I will not be attending the Race on the Base this weekend or the Cypress Foundation event because I'll be in Sacramento Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for a political convention. Thank you.
Councilmember Hasselbrink?
Yeah. I attended the League of California Cities New Mayors and Council Dinner for the Orange County Division last week, or 2 weeks ago. That came after their conference that they had for 2 days for an orientation for new mayors and council. I participated in the high school mentor breakfast last Friday, which was great. Juniors and seniors have the opportunity to sit with people in their field that they'd like to go into and talk with them for about 20 minutes and ask all kinds of questions. So that was quite nice. I attended the Leif King and Queen Gala, and I'd like to congratulate George and Linda Sagan, who were crowned king and queen. They're in Rossmore Highlands, and they've been in this area for 100 years and have grown children that were in the district and have grandchildren that are currently in the district. So they raised quite a bit of money and gave quite a bit of attention to that. Saturday was Los Alamitos Youth Baseball opening ceremonies. We had about 1,000 people descend on the baseball fields for a pancake breakfast and parade of players, ages 4 to 14, and that was a lot of fun. For Orange County Fire Authority, last meeting we swore in Freedom. He's our 2-year-old golden lab, our first arson canine. He raised his paw and took the pledge. He is only one of 37 in the country. He has the ability to sniff out flammable liquids and help determine the arson cause, how the fires are caused. And he did give us a demonstration. For every time he does something good, he gets a piece of kibble. He doesn't own a dog bowl, Everything he does is piece of kibble at a time. I think we'd all be a lot skinnier if we were rewarded like that as well, but it's a thought. Despite my temper tantrum, Division Chief Robert Acosta has announced his retirement at the end of March. I yelled, I screamed, I cried, and he's still going to retire. So he services Division 1, which is Los Alamitos, Seal Beach, and Westminster, and he has been absolutely spectacular, bringing programs to our city, making us aware of things, and I'm not sure how they're going to fill his shoes, but he'll be here next month, but I wanted to give everybody a heads up. Start saying your goodbyes now. In our Budget and Finance Committee for Orange County Fire Authority, we came in, we're part of OSERS, that's our pension fund, it's the Orange County Employment Retirement. They had a projected return for 2018 of 7%, and they ended up at a whopping negative 1.7. So it's not just CalPERS. CalPERS was down, we were told 3.2%, and CalSTRS, which is the teachers, was down 3.7%. So the pension is, as I've said, it's not just a Los Alamitos problem, and it's not just an Orange County problem. It is statewide, and everybody is hurting. We did a reorganization at Fire Authority, and I was very excited to be elected as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee and vice chair of the board. Joe Mueller is our chair. He's the mayor of Dana Point, and I'm very excited. This is a great organization, and covers about a $460 million budget, 72 fire stations, and about 1,100 firefighters. It is the premier fire authority in the country, so I'm quite thrilled to be moving into the leadership role in that. And then just real quick, Les, we talked briefly about the blind spot on Lexington and Howard. It's the little street that's just coming out at the base. Since they've reconfigured the exit, that stop sign is hard to see for people coming out of the base, so they usually blow through that. And there's a red curb there, but it's not as far back. So if you're trying to come out of Howard onto Lexington, either left or right, it's a pretty scary blind spot that if people are coming out of the base, there's a chance that somebody could get hit. So if we could just look at that and see if we can maybe extend the red zone a little bit, that'd be great. And that's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I, too, with my colleagues, went to the police swearing in. As the chief mentioned, he was sick, which meant the event was about a half hour shorter than it normally would be.
That's it?
Those of you who heard him speak know what I'm talking about. I tell you, if you ever wonder about the future of this country, I got to go to two great events. The first at LAE, where they had 4th and 5th graders were giving speeches, and we got to judge a speech contest. And as one of the school board members said, I couldn't have given a speech when I was 10 years old before a room full of people for all the money in the world, and I had to agree. They were phenomenal. I also got to go to the Youth Center Night of Stars, and they're mega volunteers. It's like a full-time job for a lot of these kids, and they give like 500 hours in the course of a year, and if you think about it, you only work 2,000 hours a year. So it's like a part-time job, and it's really a phenomenal thing. Dean and I got to attend the Los Al Senior Club, which is always great fun with some of our other colleagues. The police department was very well represented. You guys are very popular there. They all like you for the Wii games. I was able to attend both the Cypress and the Garden Grove State of the Cities. Brett, they had at the Garden Grove was at the Black Wolf Run. If we could get one of those facilities, it would be very, very profitable, I think. And also got to attend the Chamber Breakfast, where Emlyn did her normal fine job promoting the city. And Art from Madera's got some well-deserved recognition. And Shelley, thank you for your year at the helm. I know it's a lot of work. And finally, I will be at the Race of the Base. Probably finish about next to last, but we'll finish, and that will do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So for me, I went to the new Mayors and Councilmember Training Academy put on by the League of Cities, and I was there with the City Manager Plumley, and I think there was some educational opportunities there. I attended the new officers swearing in event over here at the Community Center, and then also the Night Among Stars with Mayor Pro Tem Murphy, and they allowed us to present to some of the award recipients, which is really a thrill what these young people are doing. And then kind of last thing, and I'll kind of defer over to Councilmember Hasselbrink. I attended the Los Al Museum Hall of Fame, the inductees, And this is kind of a cool job where I got to go and just be there, and Councilmember Hasselbrink got to do all the talking because she knew, I think, pretty much all the inductees, and she had behind-the-scenes stories about them. But if you want to just mention a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. And the reason I was able to speak is because the mayor gave me about a 3-second warning as we were walking up. He goes, you're handling this, right? But I didn't know Nikki very well. We all met her at the council meeting. But as I said there, I got some really cool points from my kids because I was there and they weren't. And they were big fans of hers, so that was neat. And then Jacob Nix, he's 23 years old, was called up last year to the Bigs. He's the pitcher for the San Diego Padres now. Born and raised right here in La Salle. He's a Poe, if that kind of brings it home for everybody. So he has deep blood here in this community, and it's been fun to watch him. I've known him since T-ball, to watch him clean up from a kid with nacho cheese running down his cheeks to, thrown out at first pitch at the Padres, so that's very neat. And then the other one was Rachel Fatal. She graduated from La Salle in 2012, was a nationally known volleyball player and water polo player. She could have gone to school for either one of those. She chose water polo. She went to UCLA, despite our better judgment, but ended up being on the Olympic team and won the last year's Summer Olympics, won the gold medal. She's been given all kinds of awards from around the world about her water polo playing, and she lives in Seal Beach, but just a La Salle graduate, and hopefully they'll be qualifying in June for the 2020 Olympics. Is that 2020? And just all three outstanding people that we're proud to call our own, and we fully monopolized on that, and now they're in the La Salle Museum as some of the best.
Yep, Hall of Fame. Thank you. And then finally, I guess I saw something in the news over the weekend. One of our local residents in Rossmore, Edmund Rusinek, who was in the news, if you saw that, who donated $1,500 to Chick-fil-A to feed the soldiers on the base over here. So that's just a shout out to him for his pay it forward, and I hope that we get to all emulate that sometime. Okay, with that then, City Manager, items from you.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate Councilmember Hasselbrink for your advanced role with OCFA. That's great for you and for the city. We appreciate your outstanding representation there, and then working with our fire chief, who I don't want to see him leave either, but Robert Acosta. Congratulations, and we've had a fantastic time working with you. Appreciate everything that you've done for the city. And then if I can have Emily and Noda, I did give her a brief warning, just to give an update on Race on the Base to the community.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. We'd like to invite the community out to Race on the Base this weekend, Friday and Saturday, February 22nd and 23rd. We have our Honoring Our Fallen 5K Run Walk to Remember, our new 5K Go Ruck rucking division, which is basically walking with a weighted backpack. We don't know how much is in your backpack, so it could be 5 pounds, it could be 20 pounds. Nobody's checking you. We have our 10K run, hand cycle and wheel, our junior reverse triathlon, and our 95.9 reverse triathlon. These are all on Saturday, and then Friday is our Southland Credit Union glow-in-the-dark whimsical fun run. So we invite the whole community to come out. The weather is cooperating, and we do have packet pickup on Friday from 1:30 to 7:30, and then on Saturday at 5:30 a.m. And we just really want the community to come out because we have an opportunity for the businesses to come together, the charities, nonprofits, the school district, and we want to thank our host, Joint Forces Training Base, as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? That's it. Okay, next item would be the warrants. Is there a motion for that?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, and it's a roll call vote, please, City Clerk.
Mayor Kusamoto?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy?
Aye.
Councilmember Churko?
Aye.
Councilmember Gross?
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar. So all items may be acted upon by one motion, or unless any council member wishes to pull anything. Does anybody wish to pull anything from consent?
I'd like to pull B.
B is pulled. Anything else? I did want to pull E, the sustainability manager. Anything else?
I will record an abstention on B,
Okay.
boy.
Okay. And is there a motion on the balance?
I'll move. Made. Second.
Moved by Churko, seconded by Murphy. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Do we need a staff report for B?
No, it's real quick. I don't oppose this measure in any way. I just want to thank my colleagues who attend these items. Both Dean and Shelley go to these League of Cities meetings and are active in policy committees, and you know it's takes some time. And, appreciate both of you for doing that. And people don't know that's a large part of where we spend our time as council members is in committee meetings with other cities, and it's very important when you want to get something done down the road. You know somebody to call instead of just coldly calling and trying to make a request. You know somebody from a committee somewhere really helps get things done. So thank you to both.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Churko. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And no, any noes, and then an abstention. Okay, so
I'll abstain.
Yeah, 401. Thank you, passes. Okay, and then item E, Brett, can we have just a real brief report, and then I just have some questions.
Sure, Mayor. City Council, item E is Fiscal Sustainability Manager. We are proposing to bring David Kane on board. He's a PERS annuitant. He will be working with our Budget Standing Committee and with our executive team and with the council and staff to help us develop our long-term fiscal sustainability plan, help us prepare for educating the community with the target of community meetings starting in July. And he brings expertise in this area. He's developed these plans in the past in other cities. He's worked with communities in educating them. He brings that expertise to us comparable to Mike Ballier, who's our consultant that we use for waste and recycling issues with our franchise agreement with Republic. And so we're excited for this possibility to bring him on board. The plan is to have him work with the Budget Standing Committee the remainder of this year. We have about 220 hours. He actually has about 220 hours available to us. We would then budget for it in the fiscal year 1920 budget for up to 440 hours in next fiscal year. And then his task would be over as we're going through the community meetings, as we're developing options to help close the long-term financial gap. We're exploring all the options on the revenue side, on the expenditure side. We're developing worksheets for every single option. At the end, we'll have a product with a book of all the options that will then be available to the public. And simultaneously, as we're educating the council and the public, Budget Standing Committee also will be bringing updates on an ongoing basis to the city council through the budget process.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to backtrack a little bit. So, and I'd ask you this question. So, this position is not tailored to the individual, but it's a position to fulfill a need.
That's correct.
So, I think when you start talking about the individual, I get a little uncomfortable because what I wanted to understand is the relationship between the position, what we have to get out of it from a work product, and how it interacts with the Budget Standing Committee. So, because again, what this appears like is that we carved out so many hours for a person to have work, and I know that's the furthest thing from your mind. So what, for clarity's sake, is that we have a need to take a perhaps just an outsider's view of what we do from terms of revenues that come in, projected revenues, and then the tough choices that we will have to make here as a council, right? So I think, again, I would caution you on identifying the individual that's fulfilling the role other than the work product you want to get out of this role. So if you can kind of describe a little bit of that, and then how it interacts with the Budget Standing Committee. I guess the two individuals are here to council members to my left.
Yes. So he will bring his expertise to the city staff to supplement that work that we're doing with the Budget Standing Committee. So we're developing a long-term fiscal sustainability plan, a 10-year plan, cash flow with revenue and expenditures. He will supplement the work that the city manager, the finance director, the Budget Standing Committee, and the executive committee do as we develop this plan.
And then, okay, so, and then the spectrum of possibilities of choices, they are not I would expect them to be limitless, right? Because you look at the most extreme case, and we talked about this in last month, where I talked about mergers and acquisitions. But if you really look at the contract city model, where we contract out everything, that's certainly a solution. To other solutions that may look at staff that we have, the services we provide, and maybe we can't afford to provide that. So that's what I would hope the Budget Standing Committee provides that guidance, because it's not just business as usual. These are extraordinary problems that we're all facing. And, I think for the rest of the council, certainly I would like to see what it is that was discussed in the standing committee, and then that we get to look back and kind of challenge them, right? Did they think about this? Did they think about that? Because we can add some perspective in a budget workshop.
Yeah, and we are making outstanding progress through the Budget Standing Committee and with staff, and he will come on board to help supplement that and help move that process forward very positively. So it's an exhaustive process. It's a long-term plan that we're developing to close that budget gap, but the Budget Standing Committee and staff have come up with many, many different options to explore, and that's the idea. We want to let the community know that we're looking at everything, and we want to be ready to educate the community.
And so that was kind of my question. So when you say you're looking at everything, I want to see evidence of looking at everything, right? Not to doubt what you're looking at from the standing committee, but I think that's certainly we get to vote on that, right, when it finally comes out as a final product, and decisions that we're going to make that affect this council and our tenure, as well as future councils and staff here. So that's why I wanted to pull this and just really hone in on to what's going on. And I didn't want to hear that we've got a job for this one guy. What I want to hear is that you've got a work product you need to produce, and this guy's going to help you get there. Okay, so with that, is there any other questions on this? Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you very much. And with that, we're on to 11. And if we can have a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We have our Development Services Director, Les Johnson, who will do the staff presentation and be available to answer questions.
Honorable Mayor, Council members, good evening. Wanted to just go through a few slides to give you an update on the status of what has transpired over the last year regarding the residential parking permit program. For a bit of background, the council previously established residential parking zones in 5 Los Alamitos neighborhoods. They were established over a number of years. We'll go further detail. We'll cover that in just a moment. Not all the streets within each of those identified neighborhoods are covered. So though it may be referred to as a certain neighborhood name, doesn't mean every street within that neighborhood is actually included within the zone or zones. And there's an administrative regulation, 8.1, that requires the Traffic Commission to review each of these zones every 3 years. And that's what transpired last year, and the commission individually considered each of the 5 zones over 5 separate meetings during 2018. And prior to the commission considering each of those zones, there was a survey distributed to residents and property owners within the defined areas, and then notification was provided as well with regards to the Traffic Commission meeting, providing an opportunity for residents and property owners to attend. The commission conducted their final review at their January meeting on January 9th, in which they reviewed all 5 of the reports that were conducted and their notes and whatnot. And as a result of that review, they voted unanimously to recommend council take the necessary action to conclude the new Dutch Haven permit parking, but uphold all of the other 4 zones as is.
Okay, thank you. Before we go into council discussions, I would like to open this up for public comments on this one. There is one card, but we're not limited to that. But I have a Scott Arnold, Mr. Arnold.
Just a sec. I think Mr. Johnson had more to his presentation.
I'm sorry, I had a few. I was just pausing to switch to the slide.
I'm sorry.
I just have a few more really quick here.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Sorry about Mr. Arnold.
I want to make sure we have all the information out very quickly.
Thank you.
Here's a table that covers all 5 of those neighborhoods, and as you can see, there's a quick summary here of when they were established. The oldest one being the New Dutch Haven back in April of '81, and the newest being the Greenbrook Woodcrest neighborhood of 2005. And really quick, with regards to each of these, there's the Old Town West zone established in '99. This one is probably the most complicated in that there are 3 different restrictions. There's a 4-hour parking all day in certain areas. There's a 4-hour parking between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. along the west side of Oak Street. And there's permit parking on several streets, and that's even split where essentially the northern half of those streets have a very limited permit parking, and the southern half is limited to permit parking on Sunday mornings or Sundays only. The Old Town East Zone is much smaller, and it's limited just to permit parking on those defined streets represented. And that was established in 2000 with an amendment in 2001. And then the New Dutch Haven Zone was established in 81. As you can see here, it does not cover all of the streets within the New Dutch Haven neighborhood. It's focused on Catella Avenue, Bunker Hill, Bennington, and I'm sorry, I can't remember say the name, Antietam? Is that how it's said? Antietam, thank you. Still learning all of the names here. Sydney and Mendora. And then the Greenbrook Woodcrest zone, again, does not cover the entire neighborhood. And as you can see here, we have Lassen, San Joaquin, Humboldt. And Humboldt is not the entire length of Humboldt. It actually stops about 350 feet south of Myra Avenue. We have San Mateo, King Street and Marion Avenue as well. And then within the Carrier Row neighborhood, that was established in 2004. And again, that does not cover all of the streets within the neighborhood. It is covering Saratoga, Langley, and then Green Avenue from Saratoga to Essex. So with regards to enforcement, there has been some inconsistencies over the years. Some areas are much more firmly enforced than others, but following the council decision, staff will go through a process of informing the residents of the program, making sure that everybody fully understands the limits of the program and the provisions associated with that, how to obtain the proper permits, et cetera. And there will also be a period of time to allow for folks to get used to that, as we do have a couple of neighborhoods where there has not been much enforcement in the past. So it'll be a chance for them to be basically brought back into knowing how that process works and how they can properly park. And then shortly after that, about 60 days later, there'll be a time period where the police department will start taking enforcement action and addressing it accordingly. And with regards to Administration Regulation 8.1, the Commission is once again scheduled to review each of the 5 zones, or 4 zones, depending on what transpires, and that will happen again in 2021. And if there's any additional changes, such as expanding the zone to include any additional streets, I just wanted to mention to the council that that does require a public hearing, and that if the council did have any interest in wanting to make any modifications, that consideration should be given to bring that back to the Traffic Commission for their consideration as well. And with that, that concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. And before we get to questions, I would like to go open this up for public comments. So, Mr. Arnold, sorry for that false start. But thank you for being here.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Scott Arnold. I've lived for 23 years in the Greenbrook section on Marion Avenue. When this was first presented to us, there was a list of the streets in the Greenbrook section that were supposed to be included. Marion Avenue was not on that list. I specifically called to the city to make sure that Marion Avenue would not be included. And I was told, no, it is not on the list, it will not be included. And lo and behold, when it came out, it is on the list and it is included. And I'd just like to find out why that got added on, and if there's anything that we can do about getting it taken off. My understanding is it's because it's parking to keep the kids from parking there from the high school, which there is absolutely nobody from the high school comes and parks on our street. I mean, it's ridiculous, actually. And that's all I'd like to say. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're not going to unfortunately be able to answer that here, but I'll look at the city manager if there is some research. But this was put in place some time ago, so right. I'll ask him to look at that and see if there's some.
And I don't know where, if there's somebody in particular I should go to, that's fine. I'll wait and talk to whoever.
Well, city manager would be certainly a point of contact for you.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item?
Thank you for being here.
Hi,
I'm Brian Arakaki. I live off of Saratoga and Catella. I just want to encourage the council to uphold what the Traffic Commission will keep the permitted parking around our neighborhood, because it really did help since that 2004 when you implemented it back then. Yeah.
And just one clarification. So if you could say the neighborhood?
Carrier Row.
Okay, thank you. That helps. Thank you.
Hi, Debbie Sendejas, and I wasn't aware of all this for Chestnut Street. I am an owner there. Don't live there, but I am an owner. And I know that before you had the reasoning for the parking permit in that area was because of Cottonwood. And I thought maybe it was going to be, since they left, it was going to change. So I never got any information saying that there was, I think you guys said you sent something out before to the homes. I didn't get one. Maybe you sent it to, it's a rental property, to the renters, but I never got anything. I got the notice about the meeting tonight, and that was it. So I'm not aware of all this. But does it sound like you're going to keep the parking permit then in the Chestnut Catalina area?
So I'll look over to
which is considered what is that called? The old east?
Old Town West.
Now, which is the same area here, Oak and all that.
So City Manager, if you just quickly ask what, answer.
It's on the list to keep it as permit parking.
So
Town West.
There was a survey you did and everybody wanted to keep it that way.
There was a survey that was done on each of the 5 areas that are included in the staff report.
I never got a survey.
And then it was discussed at the Traffic Commission level.
Okay, never saw that. So that's just, I'm voicing my opinion there.
So just to clarify, so you're not in favor of the parking permit, or you are in favor?
I think I need some more education on that. I'm not really in favor of it because, say, for instance, if somebody goes and does some work, if a tenant needs some work done, they get a ticket because they've parked there, they don't have a permit, they're not aware of that. So I something needs to be done about that. Say myself even, if I go there and if I don't have my permit with me, I could get a ticket.
Okay, understand. Thank you very much for your input.
So
Really appreciate that.
Voicing my, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this? Thank you.
Hi there. Matias Menioche, live on Carrier Row on Langley. First council meeting. I've only been here for 2 years, so taking all of it in, so good to meet all of you. Kind of back to the last speaker, didn't really have a lot of communications in terms of this going on. Maybe it's just because I'm new, right? I did get the in the mail of the meeting that was going on today, and I was just curious overall, and maybe this is not the time to address it, why there would be the permit parking in Carrier Row, since it seems that there is no real traffic going on. There's plenty of parking all the time, and back to the same thing. If my gardener comes by, do I need to find him, give him a permit parking for him to carry around? If he doesn't bring it, is he getting a ticket? So just overall, just trying to understand the reasoning behind. Maybe I can find some information and educate myself, but just wanted to say my 2 cents on that.
So real quick, I'll just, it's not a debate or an interchange, but my understanding, back in the days of the hospital, there was a lot of the workers would spill over into the neighborhoods and impact the residents there. And then I think, I was looking at the older report with New Dutch Haven, the racetrack was also causing problems. So there was a reason for that back then, which is somehow, gone away because of the more parking on the hospital grounds. So. And I think this policy of reviewing it every 3 years is a healthy one to see if, that it's still a need. And the Traffic Commission did the work of the council and looked at that and came up with a recommendation, which we're going to act upon tonight or not. We'll see where it goes. But okay. Thank you for hearing me.
So I guess my last request then is hopefully the communication in terms of where to get the permits and what that process is communicated widely. Because I do remember stopping one of the police officers that happened to be on my street, and he had no idea that this was in action. So
okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that and bring it back to the council. So we heard the public speak. We heard Community Development Director speak. Are there questions of staff? And just kind of leave it open. Anybody want to go first?
Sure. A couple of questions. Mr. Johnson, unless going to the presentation, I guess I'm just curious, when you say permit parking, if you could more fully explain what that is. Does that mean only individuals with parking, with a permit can park there anytime, day or night? Or are there exceptions to that for certain hours of the day? I'm looking at, for example, New Dutch Haven and Carrier Row.
If you don't mind, I'm going to defer that over to Captain Cardin.
Sure.
Councilman Maturko, to answer that is, it depends on which area you're in. Like they said, with Old Town West, we have the area right along Florista that's Sundays only versus the rest of the neighborhood that's every day. So this is all residential parking, which would relate directly just to the homeowners there. Most of these areas are 24 hours a day. So they'll have different restrictions, some of them being evening time only.
Okay. So do some of the permits, for some of the neighborhoods have permit requirements where it says you don't have a permit, you can't park here any time of the day?
Yeah, all the streets that are affected by this have signage there that tell you this is a permit parking area only.
Okay.
We'll give you the time restrictions, it'll tell you the days restricted, and then those residents that reside there just need to come into the police department, show vehicle ownership and residential status, and we'll provide them with the permits.
Okay. And I understand they can have a guest, sort of a guest placard as well?
We typically issue 2 guest placards per residence.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's generally accepted, and people will come in, longtime residents that are familiar with it, will come in, they'll let us know they sold a vehicle. We'll take that vehicle off our database, issue them a new permit, enter the new vehicle in, and then we're fine.
Okay. And what about a situation where somebody's having a lot of guests over, like a party or a graduation party or something?
Yeah, they'll typically call us the day prior or within the week, and we'll either issue out, depending on how many, we'll issue out parking permit exceptions, or we'll just notify patrol and say, hey, there's going to be a block party, for about 4 hours or something, and just don't enforce in that area. So, I mean, we're very amenable to the residents. They just need to let us know.
Okay.
Like they mentioned, there's some zones here that we have not enforced in years. It's because the issues that were there don't exist.
Okay. As far as the traffic commission meetings and the notifications that went out, I guess I'm kind of curious about how much feedback we got, or the traffic commission got, in terms of written responses, people showing up to the traffic commission meetings, things like that.
I think it varied, and I think Les and Chris can talk to this, but I think it varied depending on each area that was being analyzed. The process for the notification was pretty widespread on the front end in terms of the communication to the residents in those areas, but the survey response was very limited, and the feedback at the traffic commission was very limited from what I understand in talking to both Les and Chris. You guys can add to that.
Yeah, that's correct. It was very limiting. I also wanted to mention too, from the standpoint of notification, we used both physical address for resident of, as well as what the county had as listed for register owner for all of those properties. So if there were misses, I'm not sure. We tried to make sure we covered both, knowing that there, in some of these neighborhoods, there's quite a few rentals. So we wanted to make sure it was both ownership and resident of. So we did that both on the initial notification, when the traffic commission considered it, through the surveys, and we also did it for the last notification that was for tonight's meeting.
Okay, and when we say we didn't get much back, percentage-wise, did 10% of people respond, or even less?
With one neighborhood, it was probably around 10%. Most neighborhoods, it was far less than 10%.
Okay. Okay, I'll defer for now. Thank you.
Anybody else? Question?
Yeah, I do.
You want to go?
Mayor Pro Tem, let's go with me.
All right. So, Brett, just
Throwing your weight around.
I want to confirm that basically, and the captain kind of alluded to this, we're really starting over here. I mean, a lot of this has never been enforced or hasn't been enforced for so long that even the longtime residents don't remember really what it's about.
I think 2 out of the 5 areas, as Captain Carr mentioned, have not traditionally been enforced very much, and there hasn't been an issue either. So that will be like starting over in a way. I mean, you're going to have enforcement that exists, that didn't exist before.
And which 2 are those?
They're identified in the staff report, if you guys can.
So those areas were New Dutch Haven and Carrier Row.
Okay. Now, I know some people in New Dutch feel that this is vital to their neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's important. I think the city clerk and we have received, for the public record, we've received emails from residents in those areas as well. So that's part of the record. I don't know if the mayor wants to read it into the record or
Yes,
the
please.
city clerk wants to read it into the record. But yes, we've heard from New Dutch Haven. We've heard from Carrier Row. We've heard from
Greenbrook, I see.
Greenbrook as well. And a comment from Precious Life as well.
So do we have a plan to roll this out, so to speak, where we're going to have to start notifying people? I know it's somewhat talked about in here, but you know, it's
If it was approved as is recommended, and it was recommended by the Traffic Commission, if the council goes forward with that, there will be a transition phase in terms of the police department and those areas that haven't been enforced before. They will ease into that.
okay. But you know that the first that a lot of people are going to hear about this is when they get their first ticket. That's not going to be a pleasant time.
Yeah, Captain Carr can probably describe how this might work once it's implemented.
Okay.
So however the council recommends tonight, whatever is approved tonight, once we know the direction, we will then begin the process of notifying all the residents through mailers. I will begin directing my parking aides to begin issuing warnings after 30 days. So we'll put out the mailer for the notice of all the residents affected, and then 30 days later we'll begin a warning process. These warnings will be placed on paper that is very bright in color and very different looking from a ticket, but letting people know that these cars are now in the affected area. We will not actually begin enforcement, meaning official citations, until after 60 days from tonight's meeting. So what we found last time was I did have my parking aides go out after a traffic commission meeting where people had said they wanted the program. We did go out, we did begin issuing citations, and we saw a very good reaction at people coming in and becoming compliant. So while we dismissed the citations, we actually were able to get people involved in the permit process. So we're hoping to avoid the discomfort of a ticket by pushing the information out ahead of time, explaining how you can come down to the police department, apply for the permits, issuing those permits, and making it as painless as possible. But we also realize that sometimes people just overlook mail, most often like most of us do. So a little warning, bright colored piece of paper on their car. We'll again have instructions on the back side of it about how to apply for this permit. And then, like I said, 60 days from now, then we will begin issuing those citations. But we will have plenty of instruction out there prior to.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a good thing that the council did about 2 years ago to direct the Traffic Commission to review all of these neighborhoods periodically every 3 years. And so you have that in place already, which is a good tool to have. And then you have each one of these areas is adopted by resolution. So you could have, once we start doing the enforcement and if you get an uproar from a neighborhood, you could consider one area at a time as well in the future.
Okay. Councilmember Hasselbrink? Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one more question. So if New Dutch, if I wanted to say New Dutch doesn't want it, how do we affect that tonight?
Or if doesn't want the elimination of
yes.
it, you could either modify that tonight, or you could bring it back at another meeting and take additional input. You can do either, or you could approve it as is recommended in the staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Okay, I'm going to concentrate mainly on Carrier Row and New Dutch just because that's where I live. I'm on Saratoga. We were around when the original permit program was implemented, and it really was, at least in my area, it was really about regulating the non-residents, not regulating the residents. So every address was given 2 stickers to put on their car, and they were given 2 of these guest permits. It was also very easy to go to the police department and get more additional. I gave one to my gardener, one to the pool guy. This was very easy because, once again, it's not about regulating the residents. It was originally started in Carrier Row because towards the north of Carrier Row on Saratoga and Langley and Essex, a lot of the Catella Deli employees were parking there, and they were filling up the streets, so the residents weren't able to park there. That's now been rectified because they have an agreement with Cottonwood Church that our employees park there. What's happening now in the south part of Carrier Row is with the base activity, and they do drills more. There's about 3,600 soldiers coming every other week for drills. Many of them, need to be there at 7 a.m. and the line down Lexington to get into the base is quite long and time consuming, so they park in the neighborhood for the day and they walk into the base because it's much faster to walk in and show your ID in the base. So on a Saturday and a Sunday at any given time, there's multiple cars. This weekend it actually looked like a race on the base or 4th of July. It was so crowded in that area. And an interesting part is, with Carrier Row and New Dutch, there's no border on you're now in New Dutch. So what's going to happen is, the last street in Carrier Row is Bunker Hill. And if that's all permitted, the excess is going to go over to Bennington, which is a New Dutch. And if we take away that permit program, they're going to suffer the excess parking of the non-residents. You look at Howard, and 4982 Howard is considered New Dutch, and 4992 is considered Carrier Row. There is no border that's obvious that they're in one or the other neighborhoods. Also with the development across the street over in Cypress with the 13 acres and also Ovations, I've gotten a couple emails from friends that their parents are moving into Ovations, and they've already asked if we could get rid of the permit program because there's not enough parking at Ovations, and they would like to be able to park on Enterprise and walk across the street. So the fact that we need that program so our residents have plenty of parking, and if they need more stickers, we understand that not everybody has just 2 cars and can park in their driveway, but we want to make sure that our residents have plenty of parking, in front of their house or across the street or whatever. So I'm kind of an all or nothing on this. I think, and I know there's only a couple streets on Carrier Row that have the permit parking. I was surprised to see that Lexington did not. They're probably the most affected by the base, and they're not on the permit, but Saratoga, the street over, is. But then some of the other streets aren't, and I think if you don't incorporate all of the neighborhood, the streets that aren't permitted are just going to suffer the excess parking of the streets that are permitted. And same thing with New Dutch. As soon as you take down those permit signs, you're going to have people from the starting gate parking there and causing problems. I know in Greenbrook, back in the day, they did it because of the high school parking, and the reason that you don't see a lot of high school kids park there is because they don't know it's not enforced. The signs are still up there, and they're not going to take the chance of getting a ticket. So I guarantee as soon as those permit signs go away and word gets out, those neighborhoods are going to fill back up again pretty quickly. But back to the Carrier Row and New Dutch, I really do think we need to keep programs for both, and we need to extend it to include all streets in those 2 neighborhoods, and it's just because of the base and all the development across the street in Cypress.
Okay. And then for me, I was surprised to see that New Dutch that would, eliminate the permitted parking, and I really don't want to second guess the Traffic Commission, who we've charged to do this work. So I know there has been some feedback on that, and I've listened to the council members here on either side of me in terms of New Dutch. So I guess I'll just seek a motion on the recommended. Well, is there any further discussion?
I just want to mention, as the city attorney mentioned to me, to further answer Mayor Pro Tem's question about what you would do regarding New Dutch if taking no action would mean that it would stay in place. So that's just another option.
And
I do have one more question.
Can I add one more thing?
Okay, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have one more, then
Okay.
back to you. Go ahead.
Okay, would it be something we want to consider that a big complaint is always, what about my gardener? Could we exempt obvious service trucks at the discretion of the patrol officer? Could we add language that would that make too much, Captain Chief, that it becomes too much of a law?
I think the way at least patrol officers handle it, they already do that.
Okay.
They just use common sense with that. The issue with that would be that we'd have to educate our parking control officers specifically about that, because they're given, their streets, they know exactly where they're going, whether it's street sweeping or permit parking, and they're just enforcing who's in violation of that. A lot of times they're not around the vehicles, to ask them, so that would take some time for them to figure it out. But I think you can tell typically lawn service
Right.
or plumbers or construction workers, you could see that. I know that there have been times when people will call in and just say, hey, I'm having somebody work around my house and he's driving these vehicles, so we know in advance. And so that we know to kind of verbally give that exemption for those folks, because we know that they are service workers for the residents and not people there just parking, illegally to go somewhere else.
I do know for a long time an older retired traffic control officer did not like to give contractors tickets. Would actually go looking for them, to find out if they saw a truck. But I'm a little hesitant to just leave it open, I guess, without letting people know this is what we're going to follow.
I can tell you the dispute of getting a parking citation, if you are a service worker and you came to the police department and said, hey, we received one because they issued one, they would go through a dispute process, and that's an issue that comes up, every once in a while, and we do wind up taking those citations back if we know that the person is there legitimately doing service work for the resident.
Okay, so my question to my colleagues then is it something we want to codify or recognize, or just kind of let the custom go on? That's
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Then Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Yeah, a couple of things on the New Dutch thing, and I had asked of why they chose to eliminate just that, and apparently they received about 5 surveys from a neighborhood of 178 houses, and the majority of them were against that. And I'm a little nervous to set policy over 5 surveys out of a neighborhood quite that big. So that was one of the reasons.
Against not supportive of parking permits?
Yes.
Okay.
For
right.
New Dutch, there were, I believe, 5 surveys.
Okay.
So, I'm just, like I say, I'm just nervous to set policy on just a lack of response as opposed to common sense. And the other thing is with, the service trucks and everything, I mean, it might be, and this is going to be an ongoing education process, but, maybe you can set up, instead of, set up an email at permits at City of Los Alamitos and say, hey, I'm having work done, or, I need some day passes because I'm having a party on Saturday, and I know in the City of Westminster, they have an email and they ask for 10 passes because they're having a party, and they email them the PDF of the day pass that they just stick in their windshield for that day. So maybe it's something, developing a program like that that's not real high tech, but it's at least informing the police that there's something special going on, or there's construction going on, or whatever, as we roll this out.
Okay. Councilmember Gross.
Yes, I live in Old Town West, and I've been under permit parking since I've lived there, in 2 different locations. The original reason permit parking was put in place there was because of Cottonwood Church. I'm kind of surprised that their survey came back that they wanted to keep it, but I think part of that is the anticipation of the additional 50 townhomes and the additional of 108 apartments approximately that are going in. I do know that the apartment complex has sufficient parking on site, that should not be a factor, and I do know that in their approval process, the Planning Commission, according to their minutes, specified that no permits would be issued in that area. The New Dutch area and the Carrier Row area is one of the areas, to my knowledge, that hasn't been enforced, and would be one of those that would be required to do an education program. And as I believe the mayor said, wanting to, the Traffic Commission has done this already and have simply submitted it to us. We're now second guessing how that was done, why it was done. And I would suggest, and if necessary, make a motion that the 2 areas that are apparently in discussion, the Carrier Row and the New Dutch area, be re-examined by the Planning Commission or by the Traffic Commission, and we don't take action on those. The others, there are questions from a couple of people, in some cases 1 or 2. There would be an opportunity for those to go back to the Traffic Commission and ask for some type of reconsideration or rehearing. But I think we set up a wrong precedent if we accept if we don't accept what the Traffic Commission put forward, barring the two areas that were discussed, the area that's referred to as Carrier Row on the map, which is primarily Saratoga, Green, Langley, my recollection was that the problem that occurred was both the Catella Deli people, and I agree, I don't know what the rationale was behind not including Lexington, but the Catella Deli area. However, at the northeast corner of Catella and Saratoga, there was a business in there who was conducting training classes, and I believe it was in computer software. And their people were parking all up and down Saratoga, all up and down Green, and leaving trash. And it was, again, I think Shelley said it was not to punish the neighbors, but to keep outside cars out. And exactly the reasoning and rationale to go on Langley and the others, I think, was just more to address that. Fortunately, that business is gone. So that might be another situation where the Traffic Commission might want to look at that. But I think at this point, we should probably adopt it with the recommendation that the Planning Commission take a new look at Carrier Row and New Dutch, which would cover the two areas where there's questions. I think the Carrier, not the Carrier Row, but the New Dutch, was a result of the traffic from the racetrack. And that traffic doesn't really exist anymore because they're not doing the live betting on the track, and most of it's off-site. It may change with the construction that's going on, but I think, again, in fairness, it should go back to the Traffic Commission and let them make the determination.
Okay, thank you. Was it a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Could we clarify, though?
Yeah, sure. I'd like that clarification. So the motion, I think you were saying...
Motion would be to approve the recommendations of the Traffic Commission with the exception of Carrier Row and New Dutch, and direct those two areas back to the Traffic Commission to reconsider.
Reevaluate and reconsider?
Yeah, reevaluate and reconsider.
If I can just get some clarity on this, the resolution before council for consideration tonight would remove the restrictions from the New Dutch neighborhood. So the motion would be to approve staff's recommendation with the exception of New Dutch. So I'm not seeing how that ties in, unless the motion perhaps could be expressed as, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the question before council at this point is whether or not you seek to remove the restrictions from New Dutch Haven. And then on top of that could be a motion or consideration as to whether or not you want the Traffic Commission to take another look at the decision made by the City Council one way or another on that issue tonight.
So I'm thinking, though, if I may, before we get to a second, I think the motion would really just negate the need for the resolution at this time. I think just uphold the other neighborhoods, and then the parking restrictions on New Dutch would stay in force until it comes back to us. So we're not going to approve the resolution. I think that's what the motion is from Councilmember Gross.
And if that's the case, perhaps the motion is expressed simply as directing the Traffic Commission to take another look at this.
For the resolution, with the resolution?
Okay.
Well, yeah, that was what I was...
Understand.
What I was thinking was those two areas, which seem to be the areas of concern,
but
out of the five.
But the staff recommendations approve the package, which includes the resolution that says removes the parking restrictions. And we're not, I think right now the motion is not to approve the lifting of the parking restriction, permit parking. And then there's no second on this quite yet. I don't think, Council or Mayor Pro Tem Murphy, would you offer the second?
Yeah, I actually have a question first. The first speaker got up and talked about no need for having it on Marion. Could we ask that the Traffic Commission look at that also? And it's a small block, it's 10 houses, 12 houses?
Are you amending the motion?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm not sure what the motion is.
Okay, me neither.
Okay, so we have a motion, and I think the motion, and I'll second the motion. So I'll second Councilmember Gross's motion. And basically is and I'm looking at page 3 of 4, the table's there that says, you know, we have New Dutch Haven in red. We're going to not take action on that, so therefore we're not going to approve the resolution. And then we're also going to say, please relook at Carrier Row, although we're not lifting any parking restriction there. So if the motion passes, basically it's going to go back to the Traffic Commission. Please reevaluate, reexamine New Dutch, and then include in that Carrier Row. And I think we can also provide the guidance of look at Marion Street in Greenbrook.
And can I make a friendly amendment to, if this does pass and we send the whole package, because we can't approve parts of it, but the whole package back, when they re-examine New Dutch and Carrier Row, treat it as all streets, not just pick and choose what streets, because one's going to affect the other.
I'll look to the maker of the motion. Is that a friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Okay, and I'll accept it as a second. So we have a motion to actually not approve the resolution, basically, and ask the Traffic Commission to re-examine New Dutch, Carrier Row, expand Carrier Row, and then also Marion and Greenbrook.
Well, but let me, if I may, under discussion, on the Marion issue, when that came up was again the issue of the high school parking.
Understood.
And the high school moving in. I think leaving it the way it is, knowing that the high school is going to have some major construction and parking issues, may be beneficial. If the street that's in question, if they would like to go back to the Traffic Commission and request that they opt out, there is a process available, if I believe correctly, that they can go back and opt out, and then that can come back to us. Just from the standpoint of knowing what is coming at the high school with the construction and the loss of parking, they're going to have more people trying to park in the neighborhoods. And I think there's a time restriction that's different in Greenbrook, that I believe it's 9 to 3.
It's 8 to 8, I think.
No, I don't think it's that long.
I think it does.
Does our resident know?
Maybe our resident knows.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah, and it was to keep the kids from parking there. Right. Yeah.
But I think, okay.
And we're not telling them what to do, we're just saying, look, please look at it again.
Right.
So
I think that's,
Yeah.
so, okay. So complicated way to get to, so we have a motion that's been amended, and does everyone understand the motion? Are we all good with that?
Can I just ask Les and Chris,
You guys don't need to
anything to add or
understand it.
clarify?
If I could, the only one was on Marion. So Marion, was Marion included or not? Clear on Carrier Row and New Dutch, but the Marion was the only thing we're not clear about.
I think my intention was there is if Marion will wait a little bit until we see what happens with the construction at the high school, and if it's still a problem that nobody's parking there and it's not an issue, then have them go back to the Traffic Commission to get them removed from that area.
And the other part is, as Councilwoman Hasselbrink brought up, with Carrier Row, you'd be looking at all the streets. That's
New
not
Dutch.
how it was originally, and New Dutch, because that's not how they were the resolutions were originally adopted. And Marion, with the original resolution, is on the list of streets.
Okay. Is everyone clear? So we have a motion, second, and amended. Are we all in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, thank you very much. I guess we did go into closed session earlier. I guess we can report on that, and we're going to go back into closed session for the final item. So, City Attorney?
Yeah, I can read you into a closed session now. The City Council will adjourn into closed session to discuss items 12A and B as appearing on your regular meeting agenda. This is a continuation of items 4A and 4B from the special meeting agenda earlier this evening, where no action was taken.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Sean.